Arash, a young boy, occasionally had the rare privilege of being left home alone, an opportunity that came every other week. His parents, though loving, were cautious and often had his grandmother come to watch over him when they were away. But when they did leave him alone, Arash took full advantage of the freedom. He relished the quiet of the house and the independence that came with it. However, one particular afternoon, when he was by himself in the house, something unusual happened that would forever change the way he looked at being alone. Arash had just been playing in his room when he heard the sound of one of his toys starting to play by itself from the other room. This wasn't the usual malfunctioning of a toy. This was something different. Cautious but curious, Arash decided to investigate.
Aku cakap last ni. Diamlah. Diamlah! Ingat aku takut. Kau nak ke kena buang tong sampah? Masuk dekat tong sampah, nak?
When he entered the room, he saw that his toy was lying on the floor, playing with no apparent cause. At first, Arash thought it might just be glitching. However, as he continued to watch, he saw objects around the room begin to move without any explanation. Books began flying off shelves, chairs slid across the floor, and picture frames tumbled to the ground. The temperature in the room dropped noticeably. Fear began to grip Arash as he realized this was no ordinary occurrence. As objects continued to move, he bolted from the room, slamming the door behind him. He waited until his parents returned home, but when he showed them the footage he had recorded, they were dismissive. They thought he might have staged it, but Arash couldn't understand why he would make such a video, as it only risked him losing his privilege of being home alone. The only explanation he could think of was that something supernatural was at play, and the unsettling feeling that a spirit had made its presence known haunted him long after the event. On a typical Tuesday night, DeMarcus was fast asleep in bed, the house quiet and peaceful. But his peace was abruptly interrupted by the sound of water running in the bathroom. Groggy and irritated, he quickly dressed, trying not to wake his wife. He assumed one of his children had left the shower running, perhaps sneaking in for a late-night bath. But as he approached the bathroom, a nagging feeling told him that something wasn't quite right.
Mire, mire. Mire, mire. Mire, mire, eso ahí, ¿cómo se entra? Es cosa mía. Mire, 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 mire. ¿Qué cojones? En el nombre de Jesús te reprendo. Me cubro con la sangre de Cristo. Mire, 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 mire.
He gently knocked on the door, asking who was inside, but received no response. His concern grew, and he cautiously opened the door, expecting to find one of his kids. To his shock, the shower was running, but no one was in sight. Even more perplexing was the fact that the condensation on the shower window suggested it had recently been used. The chain on the shower, which should have been perfectly still, began swinging back and forth on its own. DeMarcus was left utterly baffled. Who or what could have been in the shower, using the water, and then vanished without a trace? Unsure of what to think, he searched the house to ensure everyone was accounted for. But then he heard something else, a persistent knocking sound coming from a window. He went to investigate, only to spot a figure outside the window, looking at him. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and fear, DeMarcus rushed outside, hoping to confront whoever, or whatever, was causing the disturbances. But when he stepped outside, there was no one there. The figure he had seen through the window had vanished. He was left with more questions than answers, unsure if he had encountered a ghostly presence, or if something more sinister was at play. A man from Russia had become increasingly convinced that his house was haunted by restless spirits. Strange occurrences had been happening for months, and after seeking help from a local priest, he was told that he needed solid evidence before anyone could bless his home. Determined to capture proof of the paranormal activity, he set up alternating cameras in the living room and kitchen, hoping to record something tangible. The footage he collected was both perplexing and chilling. From the books flying off shelves to objects seemingly shifting by themselves, it was clear that something was amiss. However, the most bizarre part of the footage involved a pair of crocs, shoes that seemed to move on their own. The crocs were positioned on a shelf, but over time, they moved across the room, seemingly of their own accord. It was as though some invisible force was guiding them. The footage of the crocs traveling across the floor, from the shoe cupboard to the next room, left the man utterly confused. Why would a spirit focus so much attention on a pair of shoes? It didn't make sense, but after recording the strange events, the man decided to share the footage with his priest, and also posted it online. What he did next was even stranger. He attempted to sell the haunted crocs online. The story of these cursed shoes caught the attention of many people, though most of them were skeptical of the claim. Nevertheless, the man's efforts to sell haunted crocs became an unusual twist in his quest to make sense of the supernatural events plaguing his home. Abandoned houses have a particular type of allure. They are spaces filled with lost memories, and a sense of emptiness that can feel both comforting and eerie. One evening, a cameraman passed by an old abandoned house on his way home from work. He had driven by it countless times before, but that night, something caught his eye. The house, which had been empty for years, suddenly seemed to come alive with strange activity.
So this house, the first time we passed it, Chase said the bottom part was not blinking. It was on, but it wasn't blinking. See how the different lights are at different intervals? The kitchen light being on. And then in the fire room over there, there's a light that's going off and on. No one lives here. I think that no one lives here.
Lights in the house flickered violently, lighting up the windows in an unsettling pattern. There was no logical explanation for this, as the house had long been abandoned. No one was paying the electricity bills, and there shouldn't have been any power to the house at all. But still, the lights flickered as if someone was inside, controlling them. What made the situation even more unsettling was the fact that the lights flickered at different frequencies, creating a disorienting effect. The cameraman, growing more uneasy by the second, felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He knew he couldn't explain what he was seeing, and he had no idea who or what was responsible for the bizarre phenomenon. The whole experience left him deeply disturbed, and he knew one thing for certain: he wouldn't be returning to that house anytime soon. Natasha, a woman in her late 20s, had always dreamed of having a family. She longed for the companionship of a partner and the joy of raising children, but as the years passed, her dreams seemed to drift further out of reach. One October evening, around 7 p.m, while sitting alone in her living room, Natasha began to hear what sounded like a child's laughter. Initially, she assumed it was just a noise from outside or a trick of the mind, but the laughter grew louder and clearer, coming from somewhere inside her home. Natasha, worried that someone had somehow entered her house, stood up and followed the sound. As she turned a corner, she was startled to see a small child standing in the hallway, peeking around the corner at her. But before Natasha could react, the child vanished, disappearing right before her eyes. The sensation was surreal. What was happening? Was she seeing things? The laughter continued, echoing around her, and Natasha could feel the chill of fear rising within her. She heard a loud banging sound at the door, as though the child had somehow moved there. In a daze, Natasha stumbled away from the scene. The experience haunted her for days, and the laughter of a child was never the same again. The trauma of that night stayed with her, a lingering fear that made her question what she had witnessed. She struggled to make sense of it, unsure if she had encountered a spirit or if her mind had played tricks on her. Whatever it was, the memory remained deeply embedded in her mind, and every time she heard a child's laughter, the fear resurfaced. Derek, a well-known ghost hunter from the Midwest, had spent years exploring the country in search of paranormal evidence. He had ventured into numerous haunted places, seeking proof of the supernatural. One night, during an investigation at an ancient bridge once used to cross a river, Derek encountered something that would leave him questioning everything he thought he knew about the paranormal.
Oh, whoa. What the? Whoa, that branch just moved. I might be going crazy, but I saw that branch over there start swaying back and forth. I know it's windy, but it isn't that windy. Okay, I gotta check this out. It was this one. Right here. That thing was just moving like crazy. I mean, it's one thing if like all of the brush was moving, but it was just that single one, isolated. How do you explain that? I mean, I don't know if like insects crawling on it, maybe? A bird? If you're a spirit and you just moved this tree here, could you move it again? No way! It just moved! I gotta look at this. This thing just moved again on command. And look at this. For all the skeptics out there, there is no fishing line, nothing. Uncut video.
As he explored the area, Derek noticed a small tree swaying violently in the wind. What was odd, however, was that the tree seemed to be the only one affected by the wind, while every other tree and bush in the area remained still. Derek, feeling a growing sense of unease, called out to the spirit he felt must be present. The tree reacted almost immediately, swaying even more violently. Derek was convinced that he was not alone in this place, but what happened next took his experience to an entirely different level.
Whoa, I think I got something in that one. I caught another one. Whoa, there's a freaking mist right over here. And it's gone now. It's completely gone. Whoa. Holy moly, it was just right over here. And now it's completely gone. Who's over here? Could you tell me your name? Are you the lady that they talk about? I'm so sorry what happened to you. That's so tragic. Could you tell me how it happened? I got a weird feeling over here. I'm getting like a tingly feeling in my whole body. Whoa! I just heard a woman's voice. I couldn't tell what she said, but it sounded like it came from, like, under the bridge. Hello there. I heard you loud and clear. Are you underneath this bridge? I'm gonna try to get as far down here as I can. Hello?
Derek thought he saw a misty figure in the distance, and when he moved closer to investigate, it vanished before his eyes. Though he initially thought the encounter wasn't convincing enough to include in his video, he soon realized that the strange events were only just beginning. As he continued his investigation, Derek heard a voice, an eerie, disembodied voice of a woman, echoing across the bridge. The voice was unclear, but Derek was certain it was not human.
Doesn't help that my booster light is starting to die. I'm relying on my flashlight. I can hear you clanging around over there. Oh, what the f? Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay, I'm freaked out. I'm freaked out. My booster light is dying. I'm on my last set of batteries. I think I had enough of this place. Oh, what the f? Oh my god! Oh, what the f? Oh my god! Oh god. What the f was that? She literally splashed in the water. Yeah, that's it. I'm good.
As if to confirm his suspicions, he saw a shadowy figure on the far side of the bridge. The voice returned, louder this time, and then a massive splash came from beneath the bridge. The final straw was the overwhelming sense of dread that washed over Derek, compelling him to leave the area immediately. He fled, his heart racing, and vowed to never return. The voice, the mist, and the shadow were all undeniable signs that Derek had encountered something otherworldly. A group of Japanese schoolgirls, caught skipping class on a quiet afternoon, were about to face an experience they would never forget. It was around 1 p.m, and the girls had decided to hide out in the girls' bathroom to avoid their male tutor. As they were goofing around, something strange began to happen.
ってよ。ねえ、誰もいないよ、本当に。こっち行くから。ね、待って、ちょっと待って。誰もいないのに声したってことそしたら。嘘、開いてるんだけど。待って、開いてるよ。行こう、行こう。
They heard a loud banging coming from one of the stalls, and the girls, curious and apprehensive, climbed on the adjacent toilets to peek inside. To their astonishment, the stall appeared empty. One of the girls, more daring than the rest, jumped down and unlocked the stall from the inside, expecting to find nothing more than an accidental noise. But as she opened the door, they saw it, a pale, ghostly face staring back at them. The girls screamed in terror, and without a second thought they bolted from the bathroom. As they ran, they couldn't shake the image of that eerie face, and the sound of their frantic footsteps echoed in their minds long after. The memory would remain with them forever, and every time they heard a banging or saw an empty bathroom stall, they were reminded of what they had seen. Home security became a widespread trend a few years ago as burglaries were happening more frequently. People were becoming increasingly concerned about the safety of their homes, and as a result, began investing in various forms of security systems. From alarm systems to cameras, and even advanced smoke systems, everyone seemed to be racing to protect their homes from potential intruders. The following footage was captured during this heightened security craze. The homeowners had recently installed 4 cameras inside their house, along with a high-tech smoke system designed to activate when a break-in occurred. This system would create a thick, zero-vision smoke within 10 seconds, rendering it almost impossible for burglars to see or act. Fortunately, over the years that the homeowners had these devices, they had never needed to use them for their intended purpose, at least not for any burglaries. However, the footage we're about to see shows that these systems would come in handy for another reason. In the video, a series of objects begin moving on their own in the kitchen. Meanwhile, the door in the frame seems to shift off camera. The family claimed they could hear faint banging noises as this occurred. The strange activity triggered the smoke system, filling the room with thick smoke. It took them almost 2 hours to clear the room and restore visibility. The homeowner later commented that the entire experience felt like something straight out of a James Bond movie. Cool yet terrifying.